In 1967, my mother gave me a copy of Jess Stern's classic, The Sleeping Prophet, and said, "I think you'd be interested in this," and that was an understatement. I was totally fascinated and have been interested and involved in the Cayce work since then.
I first discovered the Edgar Cayce readings when I was in my early 20s. I was in college. I had just been diagnosed with a rather serious condition, and I was feeling very hopeless. Searching. I had rejected my childhood religion and nothing seemed to be working, and I desperately wanted to believe in something, and then someone gave me a book about Edgar Cayce, and it was just so wonderful to believe.
I first discovered the Edgar Cayce readings in the 1970s when I read the book There is a River by Thomas Shigrew, and it changed my life.
When I was a little kid, they told me the story of him sleeping on his books, and I thought, wow, that is really cool. So I tried it. It was so uncomfortable I couldn't go to sleep. So I just had to memorize what I needed to know for school. But it was always, the readings, Edgar Cayce was always like in the background of my life.
I first discovered the Edgar Cayce readings when I was seeking healing for rheumatoid arthritis.
I was 23, it was 1943, and my husband and I came to work with the Cayces. And one day he came into the little office where I was typing, and he said, "June, would you like to have a reading?" Well, by this time, There Is a River and an article in Coronet magazine had brought in so many requests for readings that Gladys had scheduled them 2 years in advance. And the letters were still in piles all around the entrance hall. And so I said, "Mr. Cayce, I can't have a reading," because I'd opened some of those letters and seen the pain in them. And, you know, "Can you find my son who's lost in action?" This was World War II. "Can you help my daughter who's dying of cancer?" And on and on and on. And he said, "June, we give readings for everybody on the staff."
From the woman who became my wife. She dragged me kicking and screaming into the Cayce material. I just didn't believe it.
I just had a feeling there was something on that shelf for me. I asked them to wait quietly by the checkout stand and walked over and started looking at the titles on the shelf in religious and metaphysical area. And suddenly I thought someone from the other side of the stack had pushed a book in too far because the book fell out into my hands.
I was a teenager, and I remember reading it and saying, "This is all true, and I've known this forever." All the things that Cayce, that came through Cayce about the soul's journey, reincarnation, the oneness of everything, it just made so much sense to me.
Through my wife's father. It was one of our first dates. I was a pre-med student. I showed up for the date. He came out to introduce himself and said, "Oh, Greg, I understand you're going to be a doctor." I said, "Yes." He said, "I'm reading a very interesting book about this man they called the Sleeping Doctor. He used to go to sleep and then he could diagnose patients and he would recommend treatments. His name is Edgar Cayce. Have you ever heard of him?"
So I went up with my friend to the Glad Helpers prayer group, and that is the instant that changed my life. That's the reason I live in Virginia Beach now. I'm a member of Glad Helpers prayer group. I sat in one of the chairs and received laying on of hands and heard the most beautiful message in my ear that reached right to my soul and changed my life.
Just love the whole scene and am grateful for it. It's helped me to deal with understanding and trying to be patient with difficulties, challenges, tragedies in life and such, and keep me sane.
It changed the way I dealt in all my relationships from that time forward, and the way I viewed the world and the way I viewed other people.
It's had a profound impact on my work, on my family, how I treat my wife, how I treat a greater family. So the impact's been significant.
The source of the information that came through those mental and spiritual readings just gave me the hope and the light that I needed.
I would not be here had it not been for many of the people that were in A.R.E. before me.
That reading was so perfect, so right on. It just redirected my whole life.
A.R.E. for inspiration. I use the Cayce readings for health, mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional. And I love going to their conferences.
The Cayce work has evolved.
This is a work that would influence even unborn souls yet.
The legacy of Edgar Cayce and A.R.E. is really, to me, the base that we should all have to understand what connection every one of us have with nature, with other people in the world, and with the spirit world.
I have a son, I have a grandbaby, and I want this work to be there for them. So I support the Cayce work.
I mean, I just feel so blessed that I have this material, and I want it to be here for my daughter, for future generations.
It's been wonderful to have this information and to be a little on the periphery of the work going on.
More than that, I think the world really, really needs the message of spirit, of love and reconciliation that the Cayce work and the spirit in the Cayce work points to.
It's the A.R.E. staff, A.R.E. members, it's all a big family.
I just love Kevin. I think he's doing a good job. I think everybody on the staff is working hard and giving what they have, you know, with a good spirit too.
This work couldn't carry on if the staff wasn't there doing it. I'm very proud of the organization and how far they've come and what they do today.
I just think they do a terrific job, you know, and I know it has to be hard work.
As you get into the A.R.E. organization, as you get deeply involved in the Cayce work, you realize that this truly is a team effort. It's a family.
Thank you.
Thank you. I love you very much.